So one of the most popular, or one of the more popular questions that I get here on the channel, it has to do with going to CDL school, attending CDL training. Quite a few people ask me, is CDL school worth it? A lot of people will communicate to me that they are considering going to a truck driving school or a CDL school or some sort of CDL training, and they want to know if I believe it is worth it or not. You know, I've actually done a few videos on this subject in the past, and I think maybe a few of the people that looked at those videos that I've done regarding CDL training and CDL schools, I think maybe a few of you guys got the opinion from those videos that maybe I was against going to CDL school. And I'm kind of saying that based on the way some of the questions that I get are framed. And so I want to take a few minutes in this video just to clear up how I feel about that subject, whether I believe that CDL school is worth it. You know, if you're in an area of the country, or if you're in a state where CDL training is mandatory, where CDL school is mandatory, then you're probably not watching this video. In some places it's mandatory that you go to CDL school. In other places it's not mandatory that you go to CDL school. And in Virginia, where I am, it's actually not mandatory that you go to CDL school. So people ask me quite often, do I believe it's worth it? So I'm going to talk about that. And the benefits that I believe that going to CDL school offer. Because contrary to what some of you think that I believe, which is it's not worth it going to CDL school, I actually believe that it's definitely beneficial going to CDL school. So here are a few of the benefits that in hindsight I feel would help a person that is choosing to go to CDL school over just looking at getting their CDL on their own. And again, I'm speaking from the perspective of hindsight. You know, they say hindsight is 20/20. So I'm thinking, you know, there were probably several things that I would have had a difficult time learning to pass my CDL test if I hadn't have gone to a CDL school. One of those things probably would have been the walk-around inspection. That's definitely something that I probably would have had an issue with if I hadn't have gone to CDL school. Now, it's been a long time since I looked in the DMV booklet for Virginia, but I'm gonna assume that most states are the same. I missed that gear just now. I don't know if y'all heard that or not. Even pros miss a gear sometime. Anyway, the walk-around inspection, the book in Virginia, I believe, will walk you through, will show you and tell you what on the truck needs to be inspected. It'll go through all of the different areas of the truck and the trailer that you need to inspect for your DMV tester that you're going to be tested in front of. The book lets you know that, I believe. So you can read through the book and learn what parts need to be inspected so that you can pass the DMV test. But the thing about it is, in my opinion, when it comes to the DMV test, when it comes to passing your test to get your CDL, you don't want to take any chances. You don't want to take any unnecessary chances, and you don't want to have to end up retaking your tests if that's something that's not necessary, if that's something that you can avoid. And so to me, just going by the booklet, you could end up leaving something out if you're just going by the booklet. Whereas if you're going by the booklet in addition to going to CDL school, then your CDL school is going to give you the information that you need in order to be able to pass the walk-around inspection portion of your CDL test. Same thing for the backup test. Now, there are 4 different backup tests that you may or may not have to do, and I'm going to explain to you what I mean by may or may not have to do in just one second. There's the straight back, there's the offset backing, there's the parallel backing, and then there's the 90-degree backing. In Virginia, we only had to do 3. I'm not sure if this is going to be for every state, but in Virginia, we only had to do 3 of those tests. And then again, I mean, if I would have been the one that's just reading through the book, learning what I need to learn to pass the test, I would have taken time to learn how to do all 4 of those backup maneuvers. But because I was in a CDL school, they let me know, you know, Virginia doesn't test you on the 90-degree backing anymore at this time currently. They may do it at the time of the recording of this video, but when I went to CDL school 5 years ago, back in 2005, they weren't doing the parallel parking. So to pass your backing test, you only had to do 3 different backup maneuvers: the straight back, the parallel, and the offset. And again, when it comes to, you know, passing your CDL test and getting your CDL, you don't want to prolong the process any longer than you need to. So you don't want to not learn what you need to learn, and you also don't want to be learning extra stuff. This is why a lot of people are intimidated by getting the book and studying out of the book. Well, I want to let you know, the book, just if you didn't know, at least in Virginia, this is the case. It's probably the case in most states. The book in Virginia will let you know exactly what sections you need to be studying in order to get whatever class CDL you're looking to get. It tells you right in the front of the book. If you're looking to get a Class A commercial driver's license, you need to study these sections in the book. And that prevents you from having to study stuff in the book that you're not going to need. And so going to CDL school, attending a CDL school or a paid CDL training is definitely going to help you out with that. And also, it's going to help you out with passing your road test. Your school is gonna give you the information that you need, the proper information that you need, in order to be able to demonstrate to your DMV tester that you know how to operate a truck, so that they will pass you. Again, there are a lot of people that have gotten their CDL test or passed their CDL test and gotten their CDL without going to school, just by studying the booklet. They'll study the booklet. They'll look at different practice test applications to pass their CDL exam to get their learner's permit, and then they'll study the booklet to make sure they know what they need to do to be able to pass their road test. And if you're one of those individuals that is extremely sharp and on the ball, if you're in a state that it's not mandatory to go to CDL school or paid CDL training or any type of CDL training, you know, that is an option for you. You may be the type of individual that may want to just consider going at it alone. Me, I see myself as a pretty sharp individual, but I still wouldn't have wanted to take a chance to not get everything right, which enabled me. You know, I feel like going to CDL school was one of the reasons why I was able to pass my CDL test the first time with no issues, because I got the information that I needed from the school, and I practiced, I drilled, I rehearsed on it every day. I practiced, I drilled and rehearsed on the different parts of the truck and the walk around inspection and how to do the backup test and how to shift, how to double clutch. I practiced on that stuff all of the time. Something else that going to school enabled me, or a problem that it helped me to solve, was going to CDL school allowed me to have a truck to practice on. I'm fortunate enough to have a family member that's in the trucking business that was going to hire me right after CDL school. And so obviously in the evening, once I got done with CDL school, I was able to link up with that family member, get in the truck, maybe drive up to the store, put some fuel in the truck or whatever. Didn't do much driving outside of CDL school once I got my learner's permit. Didn't do much driving with that family member, but I did some driving. The family member, and if you're asking the question, well, why did you even go to CDL school if you had a family member that had a truck, that was going to give you access to a truck? Because that family member knew that he wasn't confident that he could teach me what I needed to be taught in order to be able to pass my CDL test. That family member was confident that he could teach me what I needed to be taught in order to learn how to drive a truck. But I've said it before and I'll say it again, and you've probably heard this already. Passing your CDL test is something totally different than actually learning how to drive a truck. And I think that may be where the viewers of other videos that I've done on this subject may have gotten it mixed up. When I say CDL school, they're not teaching you how to drive a truck. I guess maybe it has a way of coming across like I'm bashing CDL school, but I'm totally not. That is the truth. It would take them much longer than 30 days for a full-time course or 60 days for a part-time course to teach an individual actually how to drive a truck. It just would take longer than that. So that is the truth. In CDL school, typical CDL school, you're not going to learn how to drive. You're going to learn how to pass the test. Also, I want to throw a caveat in there as well. I attended a CDL school that I paid for up front. So I want to distinguish between a company-sponsored CDL school. In my opinion, company-sponsored CDL schools that are essentially training you to get your CDL, and they're going to employ you after you get your CDL, to me, they have more of an incentive to give you more training, to actually make sure you know how to drive the truck, because you're going to be operating their equipment. Whereas a CDL school like the one that I went to, which is totally independent of a company that a trucking company, I just paid for the school and went up front. Or excuse me, I just paid for the school up front and then went, and then afterwards it's my responsibility to find a job. That type of CDL school, again, not bashing them, but it's not possible for them to teach you how to drive a truck in the time limit in 30 days or in 60 days. So I just want you to understand, when you go into a CDL school, a paid CDL school that you had to pay for up front, and there's no obligation to work for them afterwards, don't be surprised if you go pay your money and then afterwards you still feel like you don't necessarily know how to drive a truck, because that's how most people are going to feel. So is it worth it going to a CDL school? Absolutely, I would say so. Company sponsored or an independent CDL school. If you don't want to have to deal with the hassle of having to find a job after CDL school, then I'd probably recommend that you attend a company-sponsored CDL school. But if you already got the job, what job you're going to work at, if you already got that covered after you come out of CDL school, then you may not need to be looking at going to a company-sponsored CDL school, or you may not need to be looking at going to a CDL school that's going to require you to be with them for a year afterwards working with them. Because I believe that you can still go to a company-sponsored CDL school and just pay them up front with no obligation to work for them afterwards as well. I believe that is an option too. So in the long run, it costs about $5,000 to go to CDL school. I've been driving a truck now 5 years. The money, the opportunity that having a CDL has presented to me is well worth the $5,000 that it costs to go to CDL school. So in the long run, it's more than worth it going to CDL school. It's more than worth it. And obviously that's all dependent on what you do with your CDL. Just like a diploma or a degree from a prestigious university, it's no good. The degree wasn't worth the money you paid for it if you're not able to do anything with it afterwards. And so if you're planning on staying in the trucking industry and actually using your CDL to make some money, and you're planning on being around for a while, I would absolutely, I would say in hindsight, getting my CDL, paying the $5,000, it was totally irrelevant. It's not even a factor after 5 years of being out in trucking. So I hope I cleared that up as far as how I feel about whether paid CDL school or trucking training. I hope I cleared that up about how I feel in regards to whether it's worth it. Hope you guys understand that. Again, not bashing CDL schools, just don't expect necessarily to know how to drive a truck when you come out. It takes time to learn how to drive a truck. It takes time behind the wheel to learn how to drive a truck. I didn't actually realize that when I was in CDL school, but after being out here on the road for 5 years, I totally realize that. So it's not a bad thing that you're only going to learn how to pass your CDL test when you go to CDL school. That's not a bad thing. It's just an is thing. So this is Maurice Bay, the Helpful Trucker. I hope you got some value from the video. If you did, be sure to go below and click the like button. And if you don't want to miss any of my future Helpful Trucking uploads, be sure to subscribe to the channel. I got a lot of good content coming for you guys, so stay close, and I'll see you on the next video. Maurice Bay, the Helpful Trucker here. For more helpful CDL tips, go here, or consider subscribing to my YouTube channel right here. You could have been anywhere else in the world, but instead you chose to be here with me, and I really appreciate that.